Hi, it's Regina. And in the previous video, I was talking about your daily choice. If you have not watched that video, I highly recommend you watch it as well, and maybe even first before watching this. Today, I want to talk about choosing in the context of our interaction with others. Okay. So we choose how we show up with others every single day, and we can choose fresh every single day, just like with everything else. We always have that choice. So let's talk about this. First, I want to point out that leadership is not what you say in big moments. Like, there's this important meeting and you say something important. Well, that's a part of it, but it's a tiny part of it. Leadership is how you choose to show up in every single interaction, in every single moment. It's about being intentional in every single interaction. Most people think leadership is about decisions, about direction, about strategy. And again, yes, that's part of it. Decisions are important. And actually making a choice is also a decision, right? But the real impact happens in those small, almost invisible moments between people every single day, in person and online. It doesn't matter, right? On the phone, on video, even also in written communication, because energy flows into everything, into your words, into your writing, into your behavior, your body language, your whatnot. So this video is not about any techniques. This whole content about choice is not about techniques. It's also not about communication or any communication tricks or whatever. It's also not about saying the right thing, right? It's not about all that. It's about who you choose to be with another human being, with your team, with your business partners, with your colleagues, your coworkers, your peers, your customers, your clients, whoever it is, your suppliers. It's important to remind ourselves that people do not respond to our words first. They respond to our energy. And I've said this over and over on podcasts and in videos. Most people think it takes 7 seconds to make a first impression. And of course, this isn't only about first impressions, because this is about all interactions, also with people who we've known for a long time. But let's just take this example, right? So we often hear it takes 7 seconds to make a first impression, when in reality, it only takes zero point zero 0.07 seconds for our brains to figure out whether we can trust someone. And that's about our energy. It's about how we show up, but not just externally with our outfit or, how we're dressed or with our body language, with everything. Our energy flows into our words, into our writing, into our phone calls. And it even lands with the person before we even show up physically. Okay. Before we walk into the room. So people don't respond to your words first, they respond to your energy first, because your energy speaks faster than your words. And it also speaks louder than your words. When it contradicts your words, usually your energy wins. People perceive that whether they notice it consciously or not, right? So people respond to your energy, your presence, because your presence is mostly your energy. Not only, but to a big extent. They respond to what is real and what's not real, to whether you show up authentically, whether you come across as authentic. So you cannot fake presence. It's just impossible. You cannot fake genuine listening. And you cannot fake respect or openness, at least not very long. It's not sustainable. At some point, people will notice. But most of the time, They feel it immediately. So, what's really important to ask the following questions. Am I fully present in this conversation? Am I fully present with this person that I'm interacting with? Or is part of me somewhere else? Are my thoughts somewhere else? Am I rushing ahead because I'm thinking of something else? Am I checking out? Or am I already forming a response before I'm even listening because I'm already drawing conclusions that might not even be relevant or that might not even be appropriate or true, right? So let me give you an example. Someone is speaking to you and you nod, but internally, you're already preparing your answer. You're not listening till the end. This conversation then becomes transactional rather than real, rather than it feeling true and genuine. Another question you can ask yourself, am I listening to understand or just to respond? Am I actually curious about what's being said? And this is so, so important, curiosity. Meet every person with curiosity and observe how that changes your interactions. You would be surprised. Or maybe you're already doing it, and that's great. So, am I actually curious about what is being said? Or am I filtering it through my own perspective immediately without giving it time to sink in and to potentially modify my perspective, my point of view? Because, we have so many points of view, right? But do they always serve us? They're often limiting. So opening up to other perspectives, really important. Here's an example. A team member brings a concern to you. Instead of immediately offering a solution or a correction, even, you pause and let them fully express what is actually going on for them, what's actually there for them. That alone can change the entire dynamic already. Another question. Am I creating space for others or unconsciously closing that space? And that could happen through my tone, through subtle reactions, through auto responses, right? Automatic reactions or like our triggers, for example, they can trigger those reactions, right? Or through interrupting too quickly, through dismissing, through correcting them, instead of just offering a different perspective if you don't agree. Here's an example again for this. So someone shares an idea that is not fully formed yet. And you could shut it down quickly, or you could stay open long enough for it to evolve. Maybe they haven't finished. Maybe they need a little more time to explain or to expand on their idea. Or maybe there will be an opportunity for you to actually prompt them to do that, to inspire them to expand, to fully uh, form that idea, to give it more meat, to more substance, right? And to make it more meaningful so that you actually also can understand it better if you haven't already. That moment determines whether people speak up again or whether they don't. And they might then keep their $1 million ideas to themselves. And you lose out. You miss out on those. So these are not big or dramatic decisions. They are quiet choices. They are small choices in every single interaction, every single moment, made in seconds. But they accumulate over time. They have a big impact and they help people trust you. People feel whether they can trust you, whether they can be themselves around you, whether they can be authentic, whether they can share freely without being ridiculed or dismissed or ignored, right? Whether their voice matters, and this is so, so important, whether they are heard, whether they are seen and recognized and acknowledged. A lot of people do not feel, recognized by their leaders. And that's what actually then shapes the culture we always talk about, right? What is that even? Well, it's a result of how it's about what the environment feels like to people, whether there's trust in the air or not. It shapes connection. It shapes performance, even also in the end, and creativity, right? And of course, long-term results. So there's an important distinction here. You can say all the right things about openness and trust, but if your presence contradicts it, and if your energy contradicts it, people will always follow what they feel. They will always notice that. Let's take another example here. You might, let's say you were in a meeting and someone challenges your idea. Your default reaction might be, and it was mine at some point too, and it still sometimes is, but I need to catch myself when I notice this, right? To turn this around and to make it more meaningful. So a default reaction of many people in that situation would be to become defensive, to explain too much, or to just shut something down, right? To shut that challenge down or whatever it is, right? And or to shut yourself down and your idea down. A conscious choice, on the other hand, could be to pause, to stay open, and to choose to understand what is behind that person's comment, what is behind that person's challenging your idea. And this is not because it's the right leadership behavior. It's because you choose to meet the moment differently. It's just a choice again. And that is leadership. That is also a decision, right? So yes, it's also about decision making. So leadership of others isn't separate from leadership of yourself. It's all connected. It shows up in those moments again and again. So maybe ask this question every morning. What do I choose in my interactions today? And maybe you want to write it somewhere where you see it throughout the day, right? What do I choose in my interactions today? And if you made a choice that you made on autopilot and that you rather would have not made, then you can always choose again in your next interaction. And you can also go back to that interaction and choose again and make it more beneficial. So this is not about being perfect, it's about being conscious because every interaction is an opportunity to either open something or to close it. And that choice is always yours.